So guys, this is the Laowa, 24mm probe macro lens. It will go from basically infinity to sort of 1:4 ratio up to 2:1 ratio macro, which is really cool. It's a wide angle. You start off at f14, but that's mostly to do with the length of this barrel. So a lot less light's getting down there than you're used to on the f2.8 macro lenses. Not that we ever shoot at f2.8 anyway, unless you're doing a bit of portraiture with it or something. I've put a bit of white tape on here, mainly because that's the lens cap. To there, it's completely waterproof, completely submersible. Really handy, and it allows me to do a lot more things that I couldn't do in the past, which is really cool. It's completely manual, but you might see this white cable here. So it is actually, we can actually get the lens cap off. It's actually got some LEDs there. It comes with just a black straight cable, so it's full power or not. I've actually found on eBay a touch sensitive dimmer switch, which works really well actually. Laowa said that they were going to put a dimmer switch in it, a dimmer switch cable, but they had quality issues, so I found this one on eBay. It took me about an hour to find it. They're not a very common thing, but finally found one, and I'll put a link below. If you have one of these lenses and you want one, it's just literally touch sensitive. You literally just touch it on. You don't have to squeeze or anything. It's literally just contacts, and it just runs off USB or a mobile phone charger or whatever you need. So it works really well. Anyway, we're just going to mess around a little bit, and you'll see how it works. So just setting up here for the shots I was about to do, but basically the lens really does work very well. I was a little bit dubious, but I've seen lots of videos, and I really love macro photography. It's one of my sort of things I really find interesting, because you can see things that the naked eye can't. And this lens, being a 2:1 macro lens, is maximum magnification, without any extension tubes or anything like that, works really well. And the fact it's wide angle compared to your 90 or 105 mm lens or whatever, your depth is a little bit better, and it really does help you get the shots that you wanted without having to stack too much or anything like that. The build quality is good. 1600 quid's a lot of money, but it's worth it, I think, especially if you can get some money back on it. If you can use it for work, it's going to be a really good lens, and it's unique, so there's nothing else out there like it really. Yeah, so it fits the Nikon, Canon and Sony E-mount as well. I'm on the Sony E-mount, which works really well. Like I say, it's I'm enjoying it really well. So carry on watching the video and I'll explain a bit more. So it's the first time I've really used the lens. I'm just having a little mess around really, just to try the underwater sort of issues and things like that. And straight away I noticed tap water isn't particularly clear. It may have been a bit of dust in the actual saucepan because it's been on the side on the shelf, but you can actually see bits floating around, which also could have been bits of broccoli and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to sticking it in the rock pools and stuff down at the beach, sort of find some crabs and fish and things like that, starfish and things. Actually really blown away how amazing the lens is. It is quite expensive, and it's out of most people's price range, especially if you're just amateur or whatever. But some people will warrant spending £1,600 or $1,600 or thereabouts on the lens. I have also bought a motorized slider to use with it, and also other lenses as well, which there'll be another video for that very shortly. This is me just focusing the lens onto my fingers, so wide angle, and then just getting it right. And then just dropping some new potatoes into water, just so they bounce around a bit. The broccoli didn't really work because it's so light, it just floats, and obviously it catches a lot of air when it drops through the into the water, so it takes a lot of air with it and just floats back up very quickly. so that didn't work quite to plan, even though the colour looks really awesome because it's obviously bright green. Quite like the reflections in the air bubbles here, which work quite well. But all looks quite good though. But you can see there are lots of little bits of stuff floating in the water, which kind of adds. But then I suppose I'm shooting light as well in there. There's the LEDs are on full power, and but the air bubbles and stuff look really quite cool. Generally, the way the lens works, there's not much distortion or anything like that I've noticed. You just have to be careful with your depths and your shutter speeds to make sure you're getting a sharp image, especially if you're doing obviously stills. But also, I mean, we've got so much ISO control now. I mean, that was shot at ISO 400, f14. This one's the broccoli dropping in. I only got one good bit, which was this little shot here, as it drifted past. It was quite cool. But just show you what can sort of be done. I think I'd use filtered water next time just to make sure there's nothing in it. If I was going to set the shot up, I'd probably do a practice run, sort of something like this, and then obviously try it with a filtered water, so you know there's definitely no bits in it or anything like that. So, but yeah, no, I mean, quite impressed with how it works. Not used it in water before. Water splashed all over it as well. Obviously I was dropping the strawberries in and the potatoes all over the camera, all over the lens. Didn't seem to worry at all. Obviously the front section first, part of up to the sort of electronic area, the plug is fully submersible, but the rest of the lens is obviously just probably splash proof. But no issues there. The control dials, focus and aperture control, very, very smooth. No troubles at all, and actually you can use one finger, which is really nice, really smooth. Here's a few close-up shots that I've taken with it at 2:1 macro. Really cool, using the LED lighting as well. As you can see, though, you do still need to. The depth is still quite shallow, even though you're at 24mm wide angle. It does help you compared to, say, using a 90mm or a 105mm or even a 150mm macro, traditional macro lens. But then remember as well, I'm at 2:1 macro instead of 1:1. So at 1:1, the depth is actually quite nice. So I'm looking forward to the summertime where I can get some bugs, bees, wasps, ants and things like that in shot. So should be really, really good. This is a tea bag close up. $1 note, as you can see there. But relying on obviously manual focus. And the focus peaking on the Sony cameras, the A7R III that I'm using, really helps you get that just right, you know. This is a donut, and so you got the jam there, and then obviously the dough part of the donut. That's at 2:1 macro. Really good. I'm really impressed with how it worked. This is the slider in action, so I'm just backing over the top of a slice of bread. It's just cruising over the top of a slice of sort of malted whole grain bread. And then this was actually a sequin dress, but inside out, so I've actually put it inside the dress, and I'm just reversing using the motorized slider I've got, and obviously LEDs are there just lighting up all the sequins, and it just looks really quite cool. So just a different look that you wouldn't normally see. Obviously there's a lot more scope yet, and I've only literally just had time to actually sort of mess around with it a little bit now. So one thing I will say really quickly is the lens itself is really light, it's really rigid, and it's really nice to use. I mean, I'm really pleased on how well it is to hold and keep things stable without too much vibration or anything like that. So really pleased on how well the actual the lens works. I've also got a new Facebook page, and it's called Guess It, and basically I'm just putting up macro shots that are close enough to sort of make people wonder what it might be. So come along and join that. I'll put a link in it down there. Feel free to you know, obviously add your comments and everything. But also, if you're a photographer and you've got macro lenses and you would like to submit a few photos, just send me a message, and I'll you know, we can obviously chat about it, and I can put them in if you can sort of if you've got some shots that you think people might struggle to find out what it is. Just a bit of fun, really. So anyway guys, so please subscribe, please click the notification bell, and I'll see you soon.